audio discourse. Thought I would come and talk about this Kanye West fiasco. I think, first of all, just for the record, I think he needs some help. I mean, maybe it's some mental stuff. I don't know. If it's a publicity stunt, it's not a good one. I'll tell you that. It's not going over well with tons of people. And if it's not a publicity stunt, it's still bad. You know, a lot of it, a lot of his erratic behavior, because that's what it seems like, kind of grew over the years. And to be honest, and I don't say this as something, as a cheap shot, I would never do that. I say this just even tiptoeing around it. A lot of it, I think, is from what happened with his mom, which it was very traumatic. And I think, it kind of did something to him. I mean, I don't think anyone would ever get over a family member being lost, especially their mom, their parent, period. That was a messed up situation, and I felt for him when I found out about that. Like, really, I still feel that immense empathy. I think it even goes deeper than empathy. It's just more care. It's just, I don't know, man. I think a lot of what I just remember seeing a lot of this behavior sometime after his mom passed. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but that's just, I think everyone should kind of pay attention to that. But in regards to him, with Trump, obviously I'm not into that. It's still his choice. That's his thing. But my discrepancy or beef is him talking about our ancestors. How on earth, Kanye, if you're listening, which I know this is the closet of YouTube, so who knows if you'll ever see this, but if you do, how on earth would you even be in such a situation if it wasn't for our ancestors? You're saying that slavery was a choice? Slavery, I'll say this. Someone forces you in a particular situation. How is that a choice? Another thing to think about is we did make choices. Our choice was to survive. And in a lot of, there's so many different instances where the survival was, fighting. Sometimes it was to off our own selves or family because we didn't want us to experience any form of captivity like that. And sometimes that survival was just for the sake of even ourselves and family, was to just comply because of just the fear of something happening to your family. So our choice was to survive. It had nothing to do with being this wimp all these conservatives are talking about. These conservatives, it's so horrible, especially all these, neoconservatives or Republicans, they're notorious for this. Calling people victims, and it's a choice to be a victim. You know what? I'll say this. If you were put in the same situation, I'd like to see what you would do. People are always pissing on the legacy of our ancestors, and that's not cool. People are also all trying to piss on the history of black people. That's definitely a no-go. That is preposterous, if anything. Black people, especially in America and the Caribbean and the West, actually all of the diasporic African people that have people that were kidnapped and enslaved and all that, I myself being one of them. We are the most vilified, the most persecuted, the most, the most insulted, the most disrespected out of all races. Even the level of insults in racial epithets will prove that. And it's just, we've overcome a lot. Was slavery a choice? That's not that is actually, that is not even something that should even be asked. Slavery was not a choice in a sense of what was put upon us. Our choice was to resist. And we did that. Our choice was to try to survive in the best way possible, with the examples that I mentioned earlier on. But don't think that we just sat down and took everything. Many of us Africans were resisting even before we left the continent of Africa. There were wars that went down. There were, man, read your history books. I talk about the Congo and Kimpavita. The Zulus resisted. The people fought against this. And even going back when we were on the ship, there were resistance from, even on the ships too. Amistad being one of many, Then of course here in the West, whether it be in the Caribbean, with Jamaica and Haiti, of course, being the biggest, most successful one. Stonewall revolts over here in America. The Gullah Geechee Wars. I'm just listing a few of them. And even after slavery, which to some degree some people would say slavery never ended, and for good reason, when you have stuff like peonage and, vagrancy laws, black codes, the prison industrial complex, which slavery still exists in that context. We've been resisting, and it's been a choice whether we accept slavery or not. So, Kanye, I think you need to get your facts right, man. And don't be so free, as you call it, to think that, or to comment upon something that you had no bearings on. You're a descendant of people that are pretty much survivors. People that made a choice to survive, to bring you into this world. You cannot speak on this matter in such a flippant way, because the thing is, you will never know it in the context of our ancestors. And even many of us are resisting things now that are against us. And you're being a shill for it at this point. So as far as having a choice, why don't you make yours to not be enslaved yourself?